Am I the a-hole for being upset and leaving when my sister-in-law stole my pregnancy announcement? I, 36 female, found out that I am pregnant. I am overjoyed as I've always wanted a child of my own. I focused on my career and my life, and since I'm single, I wasn't sure if having a baby would ever happen. I was excited to tell my family the big news. My older sister has one child, my nephew, 7 male. My brother is married, but he and his wife have made it very clear they will always be child-free. Last night we had a family dinner, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to share the news. And since this will be my only child, I wanted to make it special, and I also wanted to involve my nephew. I got a shirt that read, "This is what an awesome big cousin looks like." I slept away with my nephew before dinner and had a special moment with him while I told him he was going to have a cousin. My nephew was very excited and put on the shirt. He put a sweater on over it, and I told him he could take the sweater off whenever he wanted at dinner. In the middle of dinner, he took off the sweater and waited for someone to notice. Soon my sister jumped up and excitedly screamed when she saw the shirt. They all then immediately assumed it was my sister-in-law. I wasn't hurt by them assuming this, and I kind of expected it because she is married. I was hurt because my sister-in-law didn't try to correct them. She just went along with it and began to rub her flat belly while laughing. I must have looked completely hurt because my mother yelled at me to stop being rude and to congratulate them. I tried to explain that I was the one who gave my nephew the shirt. They all didn't even hear me and just continued to fawn over my sister-in-law. My brother stood frozen in shock, just asking his wife if she was serious. I got up and went home. I received multiple texts at this point from them telling me what an a-hole I am for making this about me. They said things like it wasn't my sister-in-law's fault that I was jealous. I didn't reply to anything and just cried myself to sleep. This morning, my sister-in-law must have finally let it slip that she is not pregnant. And they have now all called me to apologize, saying that they just got caught up in the moment. They said I shouldn't have left the dinner, and that it's my fault I wasn't clear enough that I was the one who was pregnant. My mom said I could have a redo dinner so I could get it right and they will all act surprised. My sister-in-law sent me a message that said that the way I chose to announce was how she wanted to do it if she ever got pregnant. She said that since she's not ever having a child, that she just wanted to experience what the moment would be like. She also said I can have my chance at the redo dinner. I told them no, and that I will not be doing a redo. Every single person has now told me I'm being selfish and a a-hole because I won't let them make it right. To me, there's no fixing this. I will eventually forgive them, but I don't want to do a second announcement so they feel better. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments before reading the updates. If I'd ever do a redo, I would only do it with the rule that sister-in-law is not invited and isn't present, since she took something unique and very personal in a cruel way without showing any remorse. But I wouldn't do a redo myself anyway, since they ruined it entirely, and doing it again would just feel so ridiculous and fake. And this is not something I could forgive and forget overnight. I'd not talk to her again until she does something really big as an honest apology, and even then I wouldn't forgive that witch. I'm actually so mad for you. Not a hole. Your sister-in-law is trash for doing that to you, and to then try to justify it. That's just so hateful. I'm sorry, and congratulations. You can't redo an announcement. You can't put the cat back in the bag. The best they can do is apologize and stop blaming you for their poor behavior, sister-in-law included. First update 4 months later. I've had many people messaging me asking for an update, so I thought posting one here seemed like a fitting place. It has been 4 months since my last post and it has been a wild ride. I'm now almost 7 months pregnant and expecting a baby girl. After everything happened, I tried going low contact with my family. I didn't want to deal with their drama and chose to instead focus on my pregnancy. That didn't last long because my brother showed up at my door a few days after the dinner with his suitcase. He needed some time to work things out, and I was happy to give him a place to stay while he did. My sister-in-law and other family members began calling both of us non-stop during this time. They were begging my brother to talk to his wife. Eventually, she convinced him that it was all a joke that just went horribly wrong. I knew this was total BS and that she was lying. My brother seemed so lost and broken without her, though. He went back home after staying with me for only a short time. Before I left, I talked to him about everything and told him all my concerns. He said that he loves his wife, and this was all just a misunderstanding. He told me I was cruel for holding a joke gone wrong against her, and that we both need to get over it. I couldn't force him to listen to reason, so I just let him go. After he left, I went back on low contact with most of my family and have been much happier since. I realized after reading the comments on my previous post exactly how toxic my family is. I decided to focus on the people in my life that were truly there to support me and my baby. While my parents keep trying to contact me, it has become less frequent lately. Yesterday, I received news that many of you had predicted. My sister-in-law is now pregnant. I found out when I received an invitation to her upcoming gender reveal Zoom party in my email. I haven't responded yet, and I haven't heard any news from any family other than the invitation. I'm torn between laughing hysterically and crying for my brother. I truly don't know what to think. Don't pet the dog that bit you. I'm conflicted. I do love my family, but I don't love the way they act. People who love you back don't tease, taunt, humiliate, or mistreat you. I think you love the idea of your family and not the reality. Because what could you love about the way they've chosen to treat you? This wasn't one word, one mistake, or even one bad day. This is a pattern of behavior that has probably extended since long before your pregnancy. You deserve better, and so does your precious child. It is so sad how many people think that having a baby will fix their marital problems. Newsflash, it won't. I pity your brother and I pity that unborn child. I recently read how these kind of jokes, although your sister-in-law truly went beyond the pale, are Schrodinger's jokes. If you get hurt/insulted, it is just a joke. But if you don't react, they were telling the truth/how it is the whole time. If you still want a relationship with your brother, you can text/email him that your door will always be open for him. But otherwise, I would not even respond to the invite. Or if he gets badgered, say you can't make it. No explanations or excuses, just sorry no. Second update 1 month later. My brother and sister-in-law's gender reveal Zoom party took place today. For the last few weeks, I had been debating on if I should attend or not. I had been doing well with being no contact with most of my family, but I couldn't seem to let go of the feeling that I was being selfish and not supportive of my brother. So I decided to reach out and talk. I think I decided this mainly out of curiosity, but also loneliness. It's hard being pregnant, alone, and stuck in lockdown. I reached out to them online, and my brother and his wife are definitely pregnant. They started to try shortly after he returned home from staying with me. My sister-in-law told me that my brother changed his mind about having children after a long talk they had about their future. I personally think there is more to this story, but I don't have all the details on this yet. They did tell me that they were sorry about what happened with my pregnancy announcement. My brother asked me if we would all just move forward and if I would come to their gender reveal. I agreed and decided to let it go. I also started to speak with my parents again. My parents did not apologize for their part in what happened at my pregnancy announcement. They did not even really acknowledge that anything had happened at all between us at all. They don't ask me much about my pregnancy or my baby. They have only been interested enough to ask 2 questions. They ask what my child's last name will be since I'm a single mother, and what the gender is. I told them I will not be sharing the gender of my baby until the birth. Today was the gender reveal Zoom party. We were instructed to wear blue or pink depending on what we thought the gender would be. I chose to wear pink, since the only dress I own that fits me right now happens to be pink. As all the attendees logged onto the Zoom call, everything seemed to be going rather well. My parents were in head-to-toe blue, and said it was because they are excited that my brother is finally carrying on the family name. My sister-in-law and brother were dressed opposite in all pink. Everyone seemed happy and ready to celebrate. My sister-in-law had chosen to pop a large balloon filled with confetti that will reveal the gender. She popped the balloon, and out came a cloud of blue confetti. My parents began to cry and cheer at the announcement, and my brother and everyone else were smiling and clapping. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, was not. The next few moments were filled with all of the guests say their congratulations. My sister-in-law stayed perfectly silent throughout all of it. She seemed somewhat emotionless, until I piped up to say my congratulations. I had said to them both, "Congratulations on your little boy. His cousin can't wait to meet him." My sister-in-law went insane. She began screaming that I was trying to steal the spotlight away from her by mentioning my baby. She said that I was being jealous and petty over my birth announcement disaster. She then asked me, "What are you freaking having anyway?" She demanded to know the gender of my baby and began asking if it's a girl. She then said that I must be having a girl since I'm wearing a pink dress. My parents and other family members did little to stop my sister-in-law's meltdown. I chose not to fight with her or to try to reason with her. I just exited the call and let it go. I don't know what my sister-in-law's problem is or why she's behaving this way, but I don't care, and I'm not going to let things like this bother me anymore. It was a bad idea to break no contact. Now for some top comments before reading more updates. She wanted a girl, but she's having a boy, and she used you to release her anger. If you have a girl, she will act terribly about it. I am having a girl. I guess we will see what happens after I give birth. Probably another meltdown. Nothing if you keep that abuser away from the both of you, which beg you to do so. Same goes for the parents based on previous posts. To quote a previous reply from the last update, don't pet the dog that bit you. Please, you and your daughter deserve better. With people like your sister-in-law, the only way to win is to not play their game. Exiting the call was absolutely the way to go. Because you are having a girl, her behavior will only get worse. You do whatever is necessary to protect yourself and your child from their mistreatment. You don't deserve it, and neither does your child. Another month later, another update. I've posted on here a few times before. I apologize for this rant, but I just need to get it off my chest. I wish I could say that things have calmed down since my last post. Unfortunately, my sister-in-law's drama just seems to progressively get worse. So, my sister-in-law found out that I'm expecting a girl about 2 weeks ago. She found a gender by logging into my Amazon account without my permission and looked through my private lists. I had given my brother the login information for my Prime account so that he could watch a show he wanted to see. I had not expected her to log into the main account and view my private wish lists/past orders. I was extremely hurt and devastated that she went this far. She took another special moment for me because she went ahead and told the rest of my family the gender. She seems proud of herself for doing this and thinks she's justified because I was keeping secrets. She actually thinks that this is a funny story and blames pregnancy brain for any of her poor behavior. I finally snapped and told her what she did was appalling and deeply troubling. I told her that she has ruined every major moment in my pregnancy and that I cannot believe that she's proud of it. I told her she should be ashamed of herself and that I am embarrassed for her. I told her that at this point, I won't be allowing my daughter calling her aunt because she doesn't deserve it. She had a meltdown after this and accused me of trying to get her to miscarry. She says this kind of thing a lot. My brother and other family members tried to jump in to defend her, but I made it clear that I will remove them from my life as well if they continue to defend her. They have since shut their mouths and begun to agree with me. My sister-in-law gave me a half-hearted apology and said that we need to make up for the sake of the kids. I do want to be a part of my new baby nephew's life, so I do feel a bit stuck in this situation. I agreed to just let it go and try to move on, but I made it clear to her and everyone else that they are on a very thin ice. Since everyone now knows that I'm having a girl, I have refused to tell anyone the name that I intend to give my daughter. I want to at least keep that part for me to announce when I have my child. I haven't even really written it down because I fear someone will find out. My sister-in-law has asked me many times, but I just tell her that I haven't decided yet. But this last week, she started sending me girls' names that she's calling dibs on. I reminded her that she is having a boy, but she seems to be in denial about that fact. She likes to say that we won't really know the genders for certain until the babies are born. Most of the names are ones I have no interest in, as we have very different styles. She sends me about 4 to 5 names off her list each day. Now, I generally just ignore her, but yesterday she sent the name that I will be naming my daughter. The name is my late great-grandmother's name, and I have wanted to use the name since I was a teenager. I won't be changing my mind about naming my daughter this name. I will be announcing it once she is born. I don't care if this starts a war, as this is the hill that I am willing to die on. I know this is just going to cause an issue when I share her name, but at least I have time to prepare for her meltdown this time. I want to be part of my brother and nephew's lives, but I'm starting to see that it's just not worth it. Now for some comments before the final update. She is sending you lists of names she called dibs on every day? OMG, I'm glad your family is at least coming around somewhat. Yes, every single day. I would be sharing her posts and telling people how psycho she is being towards you. Save her posts for proof. She's a horrible woman. I would block her number for a long time and tell your brother that you don't want to hear from her or about her. And it's up to him to keep the relationship between you and nephews. I'm not sure what you're planning to do for a baby shower. If you were having one, even on Zoom, I wouldn't invite her. She's mentally unhinged. Change any passwords you gave your brother. She can pay for any shows he wants. Stay strong and don't let them rug sweep her actions. Yes, I already changed my password and will never be sharing it again. Sadly, the damage is already done. Now for the final update 2 months later. My little girl is finally here and doing very well. She's so beautiful. It is more amazing than anything that I could have ever imagined. She's a handful already, but I'm loving every second of it. You will all be happy to know that I did not allow my sister-in-law to bully me into picking another name. My daughter is named after my great-grandmother, and it fits her perfectly. I announced my daughter's birth and her name in a message to my family while I was at the hospital. My sister-in-law wasn't happy about my name choice, and she was even angrier when she heard the nickname I chose for my daughter. It is a shortened version of her name that was also listed on sister-in-law's dibs list. She posted on social media about my daughter's birth, and in the announcement, she referred to my baby by a different name. She says that it's her own special nickname for my daughter. Think something like if her name was Grace, she decided to nickname her something like Jilly. It's very weird and doesn't even resemble my child's name at all. I told her immediately to stop and to call my daughter by her proper name or the nickname that I chose. I knew she was only doing it to bother me, and that getting upset would just encourage her more. She stopped for a short time, but never removed her social media post. I had my family over to meet the baby a week after I came home from the hospital, and that's when sister-in-law started up with her games again. She purchased a bear for my daughter with Jilly embroidered across it. After opening that stupid bear, my family members laughed and told me to stop being so controlling. They told me to get over it, and that sister-in-law's nickname is cute. They too started to use the Jilly name. I felt like I couldn't even name my own baby, and they thought I should just be okay with it. I realized then that none of them were ever going to change how they treat me. I saw that what I was allowing to happen was just as bad as what they were doing. I was allowing myself to be belittled, hurt, and used time and time again. The family members who did nothing are just as bad in my opinion because they've never even tried to defend me. I have put up with a lot from my family in the past. I have had to get over so many past issue and pain because I pushed it past in the name of family. Now this was all happening again, but this time it was in front of my daughter. What if they started treating my daughter the same way when she is older? So I threw the bear in the garbage in front of them and told them all to leave my house. They are all just as bad as sister-in-law in my opinion. I couldn't bring myself to yell or scream, but I stood firm. I removed my daughter from my mother's arms and showed them all the door. There was a lot of name-calling, but I stood my ground. I'm done. I haven't spoken to them since, and they haven't even tried to contact me. I intend to write a letter or something to them to say everything I feel. I feel like I need that closure, but I intend to go no contact with all of them from now on. I have spoken to my boss, and there's an opportunity for me to move out east to work in a new branch of the company. I intend to accept the new role and move during my maternity leave. My plans are not final yet, but I believe that a fresh start in a new place could be just the thing I need. I need to do what is best for myself and my daughter. Regardless of family or anything, I'm extremely happy right now. My daughter is the greatest little baby imaginable. I am so overjoyed to be her mother. Thank you to everyone for all the help and support I received on here. I'm extremely grateful for all the advice and kindness that I received, but I hope that I never have the need to post on here in the future. Thank you everyone, and I wish you all the best.
Am I the a-hole for cutting all contact with my family because of a prank? Plus update. Original post. Here's what happened. I, 27 female, have always had a complicated relationship with my family. They've always been the type of people who think any joke is fine as long as someone laughs, no matter who gets hurt. Over the years, I've tried to brush it off and not let it bother me too much. But this time, they crossed a line I can't ignore. Recently, I achieved something big in my life. I bought my first home after saving for years. It's something I worked incredibly hard for, sacrificing vacations, nights out, and basically anything extra to make it happen. I was beyond proud of myself and excited to finally have a place to call my own. Naturally, I wanted to share this milestone with my family, even though our relationship has always been rocky. A few weeks ago, we had a family dinner to celebrate my new home. Everything seemed fine at first. They congratulated me, asked about the house, and seemed genuinely happy for me. But halfway through the night, my brother, 30 male, and sister, 25 female, handed me an envelope. They said it was a surprise to help me with my house. I opened it, and inside was what looked like a legal notice stating that my house purchase had been canceled because of a clerical error and that it was now being sold to someone else. It even had an official-looking letterhead, my name, and details about the house. I was in complete shock. Everyone around the table started laughing, and my brother yelled, "Gotcha!" Turns out they had faked the letter and thought it would be hilarious to see my reaction. I burst into tears, which only made them laugh harder. They even recorded the whole thing on their phones to post on social media. When I finally managed to speak, I told them how cruel this was. Buying this house was the biggest thing I've ever done, and they turned it into a joke at my expense. Their response? "You're so sensitive. It was just a prank. Lighten up." I left the dinner early, completely heartbroken. A few days later, I decided I'd had enough. This wasn't the first time they'd pulled a prank like this. Over the years, they've humiliated me countless times. Once ruining a job interview outfit by accidentally spilling coffee on it, and another time pretending to lose my dog just to see me panic. I cut off all contact. I didn't make a scene. I just stopped responding to messages, blocked them on social media, and declined invites to family events. Now I'm getting guilt-tripping messages from extended families saying I'm being selfish and tearing the family apart. My mom even left me a voicemail crying about how much she misses me and begging me to come back. But I can't bring myself to forgive them. This prank felt like the final straw, and I don't see how I can trust them again. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for cutting off my family over this prank? Now for the top comments before reading the update. You're rightfully upset, because it wasn't a prank, it was bullying. "It was just a joke" BS is something every bully does to justify humiliating people. They thought it would be fun to upset you on your big night, and then take videos of it and post it on social media? And your mother is crying that she misses you? No, she had an opportunity there to rip them a new one about their behavior and about treating you with kindness and respect, and she thought it would be better to go along with a prank. You deserve better than this. I'm glad you finally decided to call an end to their bullying. Don't let them or any extended family members pressure you into doing anything you don't want to do. I'm sorry that they couldn't just be happy for you and your achievement. OP, tell mom that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. Your family doesn't give you happiness, only misery. So why stay in contact? Also, congratulations on a house. That is huge. Exactly. Having been in her position myself, I can only imagine that if I were to not be here, they would have to find someone else to blame everything on, whilst at the same time denying that they are even doing such a thing to begin with. Not the a-hole. Pranks are not supposed to hurt. Pranks are supposed to hurt. By definition, they're all about having fun at someone else's expense. You can't have a prank without a victim. Pranks are mean-spirited. They're not jokes. Agreed. I hate pranks. I've often heard sarcasm is the lowest form of humor, but no, pranks are. It's nothing but bullying in joke form, and I'd cut anyone out of my life who felt it was appropriate to bully me. Update. Thank you all for the advice and support. I wanted to provide an update because things have escalated in ways I never expected. After I went no contact with my family, I thought they'd eventually accept my decision and move on, but that hasn't been the case. For the past few weeks, my brother and sister have been trying to get me to see the funny side of their pranks. They've shown up at my house and invited multiple times, banging on the door and demanding to talk to me. At first, I ignored them, but it became clear they weren't going to stop. One evening, I caught them standing outside my house with their phones out, recording themselves while yelling things like, "She can't take a joke," and "Let's see how long she can hide." It felt more like harassment than an attempt to reconcile. The final straw came when I discovered my car had been egged overnight, and my security camera caught my brother and sister doing it. I confronted them through text, telling them they'd crossed a line and needed to stop. Their response? "You're so dramatic. You're going to laugh about this one day." At this point, I realized I couldn't handle this on my own. I went to the police and filed a report for harassment. They took my harassment, reviewed the footage from my security camera, and agreed that this behavior was unacceptable. My siblings were contacted and warned to stay away from me. Their reaction? More mocking messages, calling me a snitch and accusing me of tearing the family apart. Some of my extended family members are siding with them, saying I should have just talked it out instead of involving the police. But others, especially those who've seen the footage, are horrified and fully support my decision. I feel a mix of relief and sadness. It's hard to accept that my own family could treat me this way, but I also feel safer knowing I've taken steps to protect myself. I'm focusing on building a new life in my home and surrounding myself with people who respect and support me. To anyone out there struggling with toxic family dynamics, you're not alone, and it's okay to set boundaries to protect your peace. Thank you for giving me the strength to stand up for myself. These are people that are upset because their easy victim isn't there anymore. 100%. The other family members complaining are just worried that if the target gets away, they might become the new target. The brother and sister, though, are just pricks who miss their little victim. They were lucky OP stayed around that long. I would have cut them off after the dog thing. That is not funny at all. The fact that they're doubling down on it rather than thinking about what they've done and apologizing doesn't say a lot for their intelligence. Oh look, she's cut us off because we were mean to her. Let's be even meaner, then she's sure to like us again. It's more like she's refusing to accept her role as the family scapegoat. Let's punish her. My dad's nephew kept trying to guilt me into talking to my dad, moving to the other side of the country to be his caretaker. That kind of stuff. Well, long story short, finding himself homeless in that part of the country, he eventually took up the post of dad's caretaker himself. 3 days later, he ran out of that house like his hair was on fire and went to go live with a very distant family he'd never met before instead. Dad's my first bully, the worst I've ever known, and the only one who actually gave wet willies. Golly, is he having just the loneliest, most uncomfortable old age. Me and his oldest sister are his favorite targets. It drives him up a wall that I visit her at least once a week and do all manner of odd jobs for her, and that neither of us is willing to talk to him anymore. For Christmas, he tried to start a fight between the two of us over enough money to pay my rent for a year. Neither of us took the bait, to the point we don't even know what he was on about because we're both deleting unread/unheard whatever he sends us. Next story. Am I the a-hole for shutting out my brother after he almost had sex with my girlfriend? I, 17 male, was always close to my younger brother, 16 male. Even though our age gap is really small, I was always his protector because he struggled with lots of stuff. He's always been bullied, was always chubby, and even though he eats well and does move around, he just can't lose the weight. Something he hates because it made him a target for bullying forever. He's got social anxiety too and is just really hard on himself. So I took it upon myself to be his best friend and his brother, and I ran off more than a few bullies over the years. He was always a priority for me, and even though we're teenagers and that doesn't always happen, I tried, because I knew my brother struggled socially. Near the end of November, he had a really crappy time. A girl he liked humiliated him as part of a prank by spending time with him because she knew he liked her, and then mocking him for his weight and being weird. Then a few guys tried to expose him in the locker room and called him names. It did a number on him, and I was there. I invited him to come to a party with me and my girlfriend, 17 female, 3 weeks ago. I helped him find an outfit and stuff. I acted like his personal cheerleader in the run-up, and I offered to introduce him to some people he might find some common interests with, which he said he was ready to try. We got there and he seemed to hit it off with one of the guys I introduced him to. I spent some time with my girlfriend and then she disappeared. I went to go check on my brother and I found the two of them together in a room on their own making out. They were as close to fully naked as you could get and I lost it. I broke up with her and told her to stay the heck away from me, and I went out to my car and called my parents to take him home and told them I could not be alone in the car with him. He had me stay in the car at least, so I did, and Dad drove to pick him up and brought him home. I told our parents what happened, and they told me he wanted to apologize, but I refused to let him. My brother has tried to apologize and make it right, but I never let him finish and I walk away. I've shut him out. My parents asked me to try and listen and forgive, and I said no. On Christmas Eve, I told him to stop trying to talk to me because I am done with him. I told him he didn't deserve my help anymore and to forget about coming to me with his problems. I also said I wasted all that time with him when I could have been with friends who wouldn't stab me in the back. Since then, he has become so depressed, and my parents are worried. But I'm not. I'm still shutting him out. And I don't think I'll try to change that either. My parents told me we can't let this end our relationship, and they said he needs me. I told them that's too bad, because I did so much for him, and he'd have slept with my girlfriend if I hadn't walked in when I did. They told me he's a kid. And I said yeah, but I was on his side the whole time and I chased away so many bullies for him, comforted him, listened to him, helped him with his problems. I told them as far as I was concerned, it was a waste of time and I regret wasting my time. They told me it was a horrible way to think about my own brother, and they said if he hurts himself because I shut him out like this, they won't ever forgive me. I told them to help him because I'm done. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Tell your parents that instead of putting this on you, he should be seeing a therapist. How exactly have they helped you? Your brother, who you have loved and protected for years, just betrayed you in the worst possible way. Why aren't they helping you through that and listening to you? That's why he's messed up. Your parents totally suck. How exactly have they helped his brother as well, if Opie always had to come to his rescue? It sounds like they are pretty terrible parents all around, really. Good luck, Opie, and stand your ground. Exactly. They enabled him to act entitled. He wants to apologize because he got caught. Sounds to me like there's a reason your brother has been bullied. I have known several people that at first glance may seem to be the victim of bullying, who just bring it upon themselves, to the degree that I'm hesitant to even call it bullying. If anything, it's retaliation. I'd be curious to see what his bullies have said. With how he went about this, it may not be the first time. The bullying is real. I've witnessed it, and they almost always go after his weight and say he's fat and shouldn't even be in school. This started when we were young. The other thing was about how weird he was because of the stuff he liked. There was never a reason for him being bullied, but he still did a horrible thing now. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister's boyfriend it's not his business if I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom? So I, female 22, have an older sister, female 28. She has 4 kids, 7, 4, 3, and soon to be newborn. She loves being a mom and wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and I encourage her to do whatever she wants. She herself understands that I have no desire to be a mom right now, if ever. I have 2 other older sisters who are like me and don't want to be stay-at-home mothers. This is important in the story. Her boyfriend, male 27, is mad at me because he asked me when I'm going to settle down and said he can introduce me to his friend, male 25, who wants a stay-at-home wife. I told him no, that I don't want to date anyone this year, and he got mad at me for some reason and asked me why. So I told him my ex-boyfriend left me with trust issues. My ex cheated on me 6 months into a 3-year relationship. He told me we broke up in 2023 and that I should start getting back out there. I told him it's not his business, and he dropped it. But 2 days ago, he asked me if I wanted to be a stay-at-home wife and mother. I told him no, I don't, and I'm not even sure if I want kids, let alone to be married. He got defensive since his mom was a stay-at-home wife and mom. I told him I don't see anything wrong with being a stay-at-home mom, but I personally don't want to depend on a man for anything. Once again, he got defensive and said not all men are the same. I told him he was correct, but again, not all women want the same thing. He said my sister wants to be a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I told him congratulations in finding that with my sister, but that I, once again, don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. He got mad because he overheard my conversation about me getting an IUD as well and told me I'm ruining God's plan to make me a mom one day. I told him whether I want kids or not is not his business. He got mad at me and told me to get out of his home, so I did. My older sister is asking me to apologize to him and not get an IUD, since if I get pregnant, it's God's plan. She also told me I should reconsider being a stay-at-home mom/wife. I told her not everyone has that dream. She accused me of not respecting stay-at-home mothers/wives, which is nothing but lies. My 2 other older sisters are on my side and said my sister's boyfriend shouldn't be so concerned with how I live my life, and that if I don't want to spend on anyone for the rest of my life, that's my choice. So am I the a-hole for telling my sister's boyfriend it's not his business if I don't want to be a stay-at-home wife/mom? Edit. I get asked this question a lot about why I was discussing getting an IUD with my sister's boyfriend. I wasn't discussing it with him. My 3 sisters and I were all discussing it at his house, but he wasn't there. He walked in though when I said I was thinking of getting an IUD. That's when he butted into the conversation. As soon as he said, "God's body, not my body," me and my 2 other sisters started talking to him about it. He raised his voice, so I raised mine, and we eventually left since I don't like conflict at all. This guy sounds like a creep. Who is he to dictate what you do with your life, your career, and your body? I hope your sister knows about this and supports you, not the a-hole. My sister, who is with him, wholeheartedly supports him and thinks I should be a stay-at-home mom. She wants me to apologize to keep the damn peace, but I told her I'm done keeping the peace. He also supports the abortion ban, which is his opinion. Me, on the other hand, I'm pro-choice. He wants a national abortion ban even for rape and incest, which makes me nervous to be in a room with him. She also supports this. Not the a-hole. His views on stay-at-home moms and traditional gender roles are his own, and he shouldn't be imposing them on you. So many red flags here, and not the a-hole. To add a bit of fun and flair to your arguments, since they keep bringing up God and all this, feel free to point out that boyfriend is not husband, and in God's eyes they are living in sin, and all those lovely children are illegitimate bastards. That should bring about a whole bucket of fun there. Also, be sure to point out her boyfriend's obsession with your body and what you're doing with it. Does he perchance want that body for his own? And since he can't have it, he's using his friend as a surrogate? There are some serious issues here, but none of them are your problem. As a side note, being petty with biblical technicalities can be a total hoot. You obviously love your sister if you're putting up with this guy's BS, but I'd be going low or no contact after that. 3 out of her 4 kids aren't even his. She's pregnant, about to give birth at the end of this month.
Update. I just found out that my husband, separated, is dating my boss. I don't know what to do. Original post. I started this job about 1.5 years ago. I can't say what it is because I want us to stay anonymous. And our country is very small, so my boss would probably be recognized. The moment I started, I felt like I was in the right place. My boss, the owner of the company, is very cool and kind. She's self-made and she loves her job. She does a lot of the dirty work herself. That bosses who has 30 to 35 employees wouldn't have to do. But she loves it. On top of that, we have a 6-hour workdays. Our salaries are 20% higher than the market, and we have 7 paid vacation weeks a year. Her reasons? She appreciates us, and she's getting richer anyway. I was so proud of working with a woman like her, so I wouldn't shut up talking about her to my husband, especially in the beginning. My husband was as fascinated by her as I am, until I met her in a company party last Christmas. She must have been beautiful when she was young. She could have been a model. I think his fascination became a crush or an obsession, or maybe worse, love. Now he follows her on social media. Her accounts are private, but I stalk her with my account. He also follows the company IG and likes every picture she's in. He asks about her all the time. She's a very private person, but when her divorce from her ex-husband was finalized at the beginning of this year, we all found out because he started showing up to work. He owned half of her company now, and he started to try to make changes in our work hours and salaries. We found out that her husband had cheated on her with a younger girl, who he also tried to employ in our company. She still works with us. She, with probably lawyers involved, eventually convinced her husband to sell her back a share. We're still in this process now. My husband has followed all this, and he was so sad for her and so angry. How could anyone do this when they had a woman like her? If it was him, he would cherish her, love her, blah blah blah. Who leaves a woman for a girl? I got very angry and told him that all men prefer younger women if they could choose. He laughed at me and told me only losers do that. The last drop was last Friday. We were out for a movie night and we saw my boss with a young man. He looked his mid-20s and my husband lost it. He didn't know that she dated younger men. He wanted us to go say hello, but I refused and yelled at him to control himself because he looked pathetic. When we got home, he was frenetically going through her social media until he found a guy and he sighed in relief. The guy was her nephew, and we didn't see the whole company, but they were out with other family members. My husband was so happy, like a weight lifted off his chest. I lost it on him. I started crying and yelling and told him he was in love with her, and he was shocked when I pushed and kicked him out of our bedroom and locked the door. He stood outside trying to calm me down, telling me he loved me and I'm his girl, and always will be. Then he said something that ruined me even further. It's not like someone like her would look my way. I haven't slept since then. Why is he feeling like this? Is it love? Infatuation? She's too old for my husband, so what is it? And why would he think he couldn't have her? He's very handsome and still young. She should feel lucky a young, handsome man likes her. And does he mean I'm less than her to accept him? Or is it purely her money and status? He refuses to admit anything. And what can I do now? I love this job. I love the benefits. Thanks to this job, our life has improved and we can afford more than just the necessities. I'm starting to hate my boss though, and I hate myself for idolizing her in front of my husband. Edit. Sorry this is getting longer, but I have spoken to my mother, sister, granny, and some friends about this, and about what happened last Friday, and they all think I'm making a big deal out of nothing. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. You know your husband is at fault here, not you and not your boss. He's acting very inappropriately, and the things he said would make me feel very insecure as well. Put the blame where it lies, at his feet, for saying and doing the things he has to make you feel this way. I would say, either attend therapy together or even separately or consider a break. You need time to evaluate the situation properly, and your family isn't being very supportive by dismissing your very valid feelings. I wouldn't be asking them for advice going forward. I get they are cheaper than a therapist, but they are clearly being biased. This is not your fault. Your husband is on the hook for this one. It's not like someone like her would look my way. It sounds like he's saying that if your boss gave him a chance and looked his way, he'd probably jump at it. I understand why this is like the straw that broke the camel's back. You don't trust this as a reassurance of anything other than your right to feel betrayed. To be honest, I find it very difficult to feel sympathy for OP because she subtly tries to bring down her boss / make herself appear superior due to her age alone. 1, she's too old for him. There is only 9-year age difference between the boss and the husband is also almost in his 30s. He and OP are both no longer some young and naive teens / early 20s anymore. 2, she must have been beautiful when younger. She's only 38 and technically still young. And beauty / attractiveness doesn't magically disappear after hitting 30. Also, some people age like fine wine. 3, suggesting boss somehow got cheated on because the affair partner was younger. Except that cheating only says what a POSDX was. The age of OP's boss nor that of the dumb affair partner didn't have anything to do with it. Time for OP and husband both start to act mature. Husband to stop acting like an obsessed teen / stalker. And OP stop attributing attractiveness to be age-bound and putting the blame on someone else than her husband. Now for the first update. Hi, I'm in so much pain and I don't know what to do. I don't want to do something stupid while hurting. I got a lot of good advice last time I was here, so I don't know. Maybe you can help me this time too? So, I went against my family and friends and asked my husband for separation. I felt like my heart couldn't take it anymore. My intuition told me that my husband wasn't all mine. This was shortly after the event at the movies. My husband was in total confusion. He said that I was making a mistake, making a mountain out of a molehill, but he moved in with his brother, however. We decided to start couples counseling too. It went well the first 3 weeks or so, but my husband became more and more reluctant to participate, and sometimes he just canceled on me last second. He stopped showing up this month and he also stopped calling and texting me. I was even more heartbroken, but it just solidified that my intuition was right and that I was doing the right thing, seeing that he is not interested in working on us anymore. I chose not to quit my job. I still love it, even with all the heartbreak, and I really needed the benefits. Like, I'm the only one I know who is having 3 weeks paid vacation around Christmas and New Year. I never see my boss anyway, and she doesn't even know of my existence. My husband eventually stopped being active on Instagram, and I thought it was normal because we were going through adversities. Until yesterday, when his brother shared my husband's stories of the night. My husband was in a restaurant holding a woman's hand. I could only see her hand. So, my husband has just blocked me and my family and friends from seeing his updates. I commented WTF, and this morning my husband called me, for the first time in months, totally scared and started begging, "Please don't ruin this for me. Please don't ruin this for me." I told him, "What do you mean?" He said, "Don't tell her about us." I never made a connection at first. It never ever crossed my mind even that that woman in the picture was my boss. I started crying and screaming at him. "How could you do this to me? How could you tell me that it was all in my head when it's obviously all over your Instagram?" He said it just happened, that I dumped him and he was single and just happened to find her on Bumble. He begged me not to ruin this for him. She knows he's in the process of divorce, but she doesn't know that he already knew who she was, or that she was the boss of his soon-to-be ex. They have been seeing each other for 6 weeks, about 2 weeks after I asked him to move out, and it is getting serious. He begged for a good 5 minutes, telling me how he hasn't been this happy in all his life, and that I shouldn't ruin his happiness, since again I was the one who ended our marriage. I have been crying since this morning. I don't know what to do. I want to ruin him and his happiness, but I don't know if I have any right to do that. And I'm so worried about losing my job. Please help. Now for more advice before reading the latest updates. Wait, so they met at a company Christmas party? Does she know he is your husband? Girl, you need to talk to her. Look, don't worry about losing your job. Because if they become serious, do you think your boss will still treat you fairly? There is a high chance he will give a different story. Update us once you talk to her. Do this for yourself and be strong. She probably didn't recognize him because he told me that she thinks they met on Bumble. As everyone else has said, you need to tell her. You also need to tell her what happened in your relationship before and how he was constantly stalking her social media and the comments made to your face as his wife before dating her about her. You can't double guess yourself. You have a voice. I see the comments that you're really debating it because he thinks you did it because you're bitter. Of course you're bitter. You were in a marriage with someone you loved. And vindictive? Who cares? He's a freaking a-hole. And you're also worried about her and what she might think? Please, you have a voice. Do not stay silent. None of this is your fault. It's all on your ex-husband. I hate seeing how women lose themselves because of what might happen. Look at what your husband did to you. Really, take a step back and look at what he did. He doesn't deserve anything good. If I were you, I would have told her a long time ago. And who cares what she thinks? Personally, I would find it disgusting that a married man was actively looking for me in social media and being angry for seeing me with someone else while he's married. What she decides to do is on her, but listen to me if you read this comment. Do not hide. I think you need to tell her. If the guy I was seeing for 6 weeks happened to be stalking me before we met, I sure as heck would want to know. How much of his relationship with her is real? How much of a show is he putting on for this poor woman who's already been screwed over by one man? Of course he is happy. He has the object of his desire. He literally got what he wanted. How did he even find her on Bumble? Let alone match with her and start dating her? I'm not even buying this. I also feel that she deserves the truth, but he will probably think I was being vindictive and bitter about our separation. And wouldn't she resent me if she likes him? Or would she be grateful? Oh my goodness, OP. I read your previous post. Given what you've said about your boss, going through a divorce where her husband was cheating with one of her employees, is very private, etc., I think you truly need to say something. Your soon-to-be ex's behavior, blocking you and your friends and everything, is incredibly troublesome. Your soon-to-be ex sounds obsessive and stalkerish. I'm so sorry this is happening to you. How stressful. I'm not too sure which country you live in, but part of me wonders if you should either go through your work employment lawyers when going to your boss with this information. I wouldn't put it past your soon-to-be ex to try and sabotage you. I would also file a police report with your concerns. Her husband employed his mistress after the divorce. When my boss bought her company back from her ex, she didn't fire the mistress. Now the mistress is engaged to the ex-husband. Now for the second update. Okay, my husband has been calling me non-stop, but I have now answered him. He is panicking about me telling her everything, so he begged me to give him the chance to tell her himself. His words were, "I never stalked her or creeped on her. I just fell for her and was scared that she would think I was creepy since you thought the same. Give me a chance to tell her the truth in my own pace, so at least she doesn't think I'm a liar or a freak like you seem to think." He still swears they matched on Bumble. I didn't know what that is until now. I'm just devastated right now. He has no regards for me and my feelings. Everything he is thinking of is not to scare her away. When I told him this, he said that I was the one who left him. People fall out of love, and that's okay and no one's fault, and that I was in the right for ending the relationship. But I was the one who ended it all the same. Don't hurt us, and I promise to give you everything you want. She's happy with me, so don't hurt us. Now for the last update. I talked to my boss yesterday, Monday, after lunch. I told her everything. Basically, how I was so happy I found this job, how I looked up to her and was proud to be working for someone like her, and that this rubbed off on my husband who grew more obsessed with her each day. I apologized for using obsessed, because I didn't know how things were between them, but that it was how I perceived his feelings. I told her about the day at the movie, and how it basically made me realize that our issues were greater than I thought. I told her that I know and accept that my marriage is over, and that my husband didn't love me anymore, and that the reason I'm telling her now isn't to judge or blame her, but to let her know the whole story, because it's just fair that she knows that he has been following her life for over a year now. Because from what I understood from my husband, you were under the impression that you just matched with him on a dating app, I said. She was silent the whole time I was talking, just listening to me, until I mentioned the dating app, and that's when she interrupted me. That's not how we met. He has been a patron at my gym for the past 6 months, maybe a year, she said. I know her gym. It's the one across our workplace. She works out there every morning before coming work. I didn't know he had joined it, because I knew him to be a member at the gym near our home. He has been, without telling me, working out just across the street from me every morning, without telling me. She looked like how I felt, shocked. I apologized and told her that he has kept dating her a secret from me, and that he begged me not to talk to her, telling me that he hasn't been this happy and so on. She didn't say much, just thanked me for telling her. Today she asked if she could talk to me. She apologized for everything that happened to me and asked if I needed any help. I said no. She thanked me again, and when I got home, my husband was there. He had called me at least 50 times, but my phone wasn't silent. He was crying, calling me bitter and vindictive and pathetic. He said I ruined his relationship and future. She's scared of him now, and it is all my fault. He wants me to tell her that he is not dangerous nor he is a pervert. He wants me to tell her that I was the one who wanted a divorce, and that people fall out and in love, and it is nobody's fault, and neither it is creepy. He hasn't done anything wrong. He stayed faithful to me and would have stayed that way if I didn't kick him out. He asked me if I ever felt unsafe with him, to make rumors about him being a stalker and a creep. I should tell the truth. I asked him to leave and that I'm starting the divorce, and from now on, he could only contact me once I got a lawyer through them. I have been crying since he left. We haven't seen each other for weeks, and he had no feelings whatsoever for me. He looked demented and full of sorrow like a broken little boy. How could it change this fast? Before we separated, he held me and begged me to believe him and his love for me. Was it all a lie? My whole entire relationship? Good night and thank you for the support. Thanks for updating, OP. I'm glad you got to tell your boss and that she listened to you. Now you know how much of a creep your ex is. He openly stalked her at the gym all year, and your boss is quite rightly scared. I just can't believe he would have kept all that crazy inside himself if you'd stayed together. I'm concerned for you, OP. You shouldn't be living alone, while your ex is behaving so desperately. Can you have a friend come stay? Adding in that him wanting you to pimp him out to her is just straight up delusional. He talked up how much they had bonded in such a short time, but I bet she was just enjoying a few nice dates with a guy who had been hitting on her all year. This is still his house, so until you have a separation agreement, you may get into trouble changing the locks. That's not how we met. He has been a patron at my gym for the past 6 months, maybe a year. Things were happening much earlier than you thought. Thanks for your update. I really needed to see the end of story. And OP, know you're stronger. Much, much stronger to face your fear and did everything you did. You can feel worthless, that you don't deserve sympathy, to be loved and other bad thoughts. but you know you value yourself. It's okay to feel bad, to cry, to ask if you did the right thing. It's gonna be a really rough process, but I promise that yourself in future will hug yourself today and say, thanks for standing up for us, for what you went through. Best wishes. Am I the a-hole for kicking out my roommate after she used my money to pay her rent and bills? Plus update. Earlier this year, I decided to move into a 3-bedroom apartment. I let a friend of a friend move in with a quick background check and job history, and she seemed like a great person at first. We have lived together for 5 months now, and she doesn't clean after herself and constantly eats our food. She hasn't cleaned since she moved in. It has helped with groceries maybe 6 times. She also uses my products and clothes. Well, I happened to check my account online and saw all the money except $4 was left. I called the bank and told them there was a mistake. They said they will do an investigation, and once they find everything blah blah blah, they will have it in my account. But it will take 10 days from the starting date, and we don't know what that'll be. Well, that money was for bills and groceries. I have a 9-year-old child, and I cannot feed my child. So when my roommate got home, she had shopping bags. I told her what happened today, and told her the police are also in on it since it was over $1,000, and I couldn't let that slide. She gets antsy, and before long is asking how long before they know who it is, and I said not long. Not an hour goes by, and she comes in crying with my card in hand, and says how terribly sorry she is, but she needed things, and I had the money before she did and how she was going to pay me back. I told her I was reporting and was evicting her, and to expect a notice to come. She called me a cruel and heartless witch. But she stole from me and my child to where we don't have any groceries left. She loves to eat our food and not replace them. Was I too harsh kicking her out? Now for the top comments before the little update. Not day haul, and I feel like you know that already. Lol. Her not having money isn't your problem. She stole over $1,000 from you. Isn't that considered credit card theft? I'd press charges honestly. It's not okay at all. I already know she can't see her doctor and is off her meds, and this may be a symptom of everything going bad for her. I do feel for her as she was always nice, but messy. I get it. I was like that once, but my kid changed me. Yes, but she's absolutely not your problem. Your child is your first priority. I wonder what else she stole. Not day home. She stole from you and left you unable to provide for your child. There's no way you could be the a-hole in this situation. That being said, make sure you evict her the right way. I don't know your release situation or the local laws, but for your own sake, make sure it is all above board, just to avoid an unnecessary headache. I'm going Monday to take care of it. You have to call my landlord and have him draw it up as he said I was responsible. I don't know if he will draw up the eviction without the money in hand though. We are sitting ducks right now. Not stay home. She's been taking your things and effectively stole your money that you had for reasons. You're well within your rights to feel completely angry about that. If she was struggling to pay her way, the least she could have done was talk to you about her situation instead of take without asking. I do see your point. I had to read it twice to be able to process it as what it is. If she needed it, she knew to come to me first, but she didn't. I still gonna feel bad and cry like a baby when it comes to time to get the paperwork. Edit/update. One of you suggested to look for other valuable things missing. And I'll be damned. My late grandmother's ring is gone. Now I'm calling the police. I mean, I already was before this, but the one ring she knows not to touch is gone. That ring is worth over $20,000 alone. I don't know if she knows, but I never told her the value of it. This infuriates me. First you eat my food, take my clothes and my money, and then you take something worth more to me than money? Is she stupid? She knew that is a definite rule breaker and no going back. I'm calling them now. I'm stressing so bad. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my cousin out in the middle of the night after she said I chose to be poor? My life has been up and down in terms of finances. I went from rags to rags again pretty much. I have a cousin Alice who I'm very close to. She lost her job and ended up losing her home too. Things have been rough for her, so I agreed to let her stay with me temporarily while she gets back on her feet. A few days ago, Alice was venting to me about how hard her life is and how she just wanted to fast forward to when things were better. I told her I agreed, and she said, well, you're poor by choice, so it's not the same. I asked her what she meant, and she said, Luke would give you money if you ask him, so you're choosing to be poor. Luke is my husband. Well, soon to be ex, hopefully. Alice knows all about my history with him and knows why I wouldn't accept money from him. I left him when I found out I was pregnant because he didn't want me to keep our baby. This was the final straw for me, and I've pretty much hidden from him since. Alice knows it was the hardest thing I had ever done, and she knows I never want to be dependent on him again, and I would choose being poor over asking him for money. I got upset with her and I told her that wasn't me choosing to be poor, and that asking him for money wasn't an option for me. She kept arguing with me and doubling down, and eventually I lost my temper and asked her to leave. She thought I was joking at first, but when I told her I was serious, she got pissed at me for kicking her out in the middle of the night when she had nowhere else to go. She ended up asking her parents to come get her. But before she left, she made a snide comment about how she wondered how much money Luke would pay to find out where I lived. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your cousin was being an incredibly rude guest to begin with. The threat to expose your location to your ex or destroy your relationship with her beyond repair. Truly abysmal behavior. Her sense of entitlement is laughably tone deaf. Not the a-hole, OP. But please have protection in place for yourself against your cousin and your ex. Not the a-hole by a mile. The absolute nerve of some people. You take her in out of the kindness of your heart, and she repays you by being rude. And then she has the nerve to threaten to out your location to your ex for money? OP, I suggest you stay with a friend temporarily and put a doorbell cam on your apartment, because I can see two things happening. 1, your cousin does tell your ex your address, and he shows up to try and do God knows what. 2, your cousin tries to come back because you kicked her out and she wants some kind of payback. Tell her parents and the rest of your family what happened, and if your ex finds you and something happens, it's on your cousin's hands. Cut her off and let her be someone else's problem, because her parents probably won't want to deal with her for long with her horrible attitude. But before she left, she made a snide comment about how she wondered how much money Luke would pay to find out where I lived. WTF? What kind of a-hole threatens something like this? This just shows you did the right move in my opinion. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex that my life will be easier when she and her kids move out? My ex and I got together over 3 years ago, moved into my house after a year. She has 2 children from a previous relationship. We also have a child together who is now almost a year old. We mutually decided to break up a few weeks ago. I have my reasons and she has hers, but ultimately her kids play a big role in the breakup. Not their fault. It's more about our different parenting styles. Due to my ex's trauma from when she was a child, and the kids by a father emotionally mistreated all 3 of them, she had a protective bubble around them that was a massive source of conflict. I could write a list, but I don't see how it would be beneficial to this. Anyways, we broke up because we didn't want to resent each other for our child's sake, like the way she resents her other kid's father. They have been staying here until she finds a new place. However, she keeps making remarks about how I'm going to struggle on my own, especially when I have my daughter half the time. I've left it be because I'm pretty sure she's projecting, as she will no doubt struggle, but it is also the damn time. I was having a particularly bad day at work and she knows, and she brought up how I'm going to cope with work and our daughter. My life would be easier when they move out. Yes, I will be having my daughter 3 nights/4 days a week. I changed my work pattern, so when I do have her, I don't have to work, so I have no issues there. Looking after my daughter will be a breeze. I have no issues now looking after her. In fact, I make sure I have her more than her mother because I love spending time with her. It will be even easier when her and her kids move out for so many reasons. The biggest is that all 3 cannot help themselves and always have to disturb my daughter when she's trying to sleep. So she then doesn't sleep and gets cranky and whines until I take her to my mother so I can put her to sleep in peace. All 3 are extremely messy. My entire house is a minefield and it stresses me out to no end, and none of them clean up after themselves. I also find myself doing more for her kids than she does. I always take them to school and pick them up, take them to their after-school activities, make sure they're fed and shower often, as otherwise she wouldn't remember. I also pay for everything related to the house and we only split shopping and petrol. So I told her that when they move out, I'll have more money to save because I will be spending less on bills, and this is after me paying more than I should in child support. My house will be back to being clean and tidy and will reduce my constant stress. Looking after my daughter will be less stressful because I will be able to put patterns in place to help. I will have more free time because I'm not spending it cleaning up all their mess, running around all day for her kids when it is her job. My life will finally be back in my hands. She didn't take it too well. It has been quiet ever since. Not today, home. Her silence is exactly what she needed. She knows you were right. I think mostly she meant that I'll miss her and the kids and how hard it will be, but his response was stone cold. Doesn't sound like he formed an attachment at all. 4 nights a week is primary custody. You should not be paying child support at all. Please get a formal custody agreement from the court. She should be paying you. And for the love of God, mention that you've done all the child care and provide any and all evidence of her negligence, photos of your house, days you had to shower them because she wouldn't, etc. It's 3 nights and 4 days. I checked the child maintenance calculator. It offered to pay double to what it says. I earn much more than she does, but I'm only doing it for my child's benefit when she lives with her mother. Of course, this will change if I feel my daughter isn't having the care that she deserves while being over there for one reason or another. Here's a wild idea. Maybe he cares about the other kids too. Disagreeing with her mom's parenting doesn't mean he doesn't care about the kids' well-being at all. Bingo, one of the reasons for the breakup. I believe they need to start doing more things for themselves, whereas she thinks she would keep doing it. And by we, I mean me. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving my brother $15,000? I, 29 male, and my brother, 28 male, grew up extremely close. We did everything together. But when he turned 18, he got arrested and sent to prison for 5 years. I would visit him while he was in prison, but he wanted no relationship with me. Even when he was released, he would not reach out, so I gave up on working on a relationship with him. I'm now married, have a daughter on the way, and work in the government. My brother lives with my parents, does not have a job, and spends most of his days drinking. Then a few months ago, he texted me asking if we could meet at a local restaurant. We met and he asked if I could give him $2,000 to help him get back on his feet. The only thing I asked was that if I gave the money, could we build on being brothers again? He agreed, and I wrote him a check. Now he calls me and tells me that he needs more money. My parents kicked him out of the house and that he needs a place to live. I asked him what he used the money I gave him on, and he told me that he used it on alcohol and clubs. He asks if I could give him $15,000 and help him find a place. I told him no, that it was a lot of money to ask for. I offered to help him find a place that he can afford if he wants. He hangs up on me and sends me a long text that I have always been the favorite son, and he never wants to talk or hear from me. I did try to reach out, but he blocked my number. Am I the a-hole for not giving my brother $15,000? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If he can't be trusted with $2,000, there's no way on earth I'm giving him $15,000. To add on, sometimes there's a favorite sibling for a reason. One's a convict and the other is an upstanding citizen. Doesn't mean I think that the felon shouldn't get some support, but you can't help someone who refuses to help themselves. At some point, though, you have to stop supporting them. The main reason only one of my 5 brothers is dead of an overdose is due to my mom and dad cutting them off. It forced them to get a stable job at a residence. I know it hurts, but he didn't want a brother. He wanted a free bank. You did the correct thing of offering to help him find a place to live instead of forking over cash again. As soon as he realized the bank was closed, he cut you out. Move on with your life. Hopefully your brother gets his act straight one day. Not the a-hole. Obviously you didn't do everything together. Or did you and it took the rap? If so, then you're the a-hole. If you are doing well financially, $2,000 won't make or break you. But $15,000 is a whole other level of money. Especially when he simply drank and blew the $2,000 away. You have a kid on the way? This is all for the best that should never be exposed to her drunk uncle. For the arrest? No. He and a few friends got in major trouble. I was hoping for my daughter to know her uncle, but that might not be possible. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my sister and brother-in-law to pay to clean the urine in my truck? I, 24 male, have a truck, and therefore I'm everyone's first contact if they need to move anything. I typically have reasons to get out of it, but this time my sister, 27 female, needed help moving. She and her husband have my nephew, too, and are expecting twins next month, so bought a house about an hour away from their apartment, and they're trying to get settled before the babies are born. I had plans, but pushed them back so I could help them make 2 trips to the new house. My sister was packing things at the apartment and came with us on the second trip to the house. About 20 minutes away from the new house, my sister said we needed to pull over so she could use the bathroom. I let her know how close we were so she could hold it for a little longer. Her husband demanded I pull it to the nearest gas station, but we were about to pass it anyway, so again I said she should hold it for a bit. Well, she released a full bladder of urine all over the back of my truck. She couldn't get it all cleaned out when we got to the house, so I told her I'd want them to cover the rest of the cleanup. My brother lost it on me and said they wouldn't pay for anything since I wouldn't pull over. My sister's a grown woman that I've known my whole life. She can hold it for 15 minutes. Now I have a truck full of piss and half of my family isn't talking to me. Am I the a-hole for expecting an adult to be responsible for their own pee? You're the a-hole. Any grown adult knows that pregnant women, especially 8 months pregnant with twins, absolutely need to use the bathroom when they said they need to. Wow, I'm absolutely shocked at your idiocy and disregard for your sister. And for the record, I'm usually really understanding all these AITA posts, but you have actually gotten me worked up over here. Kudos. Yeah, reading the bit about how he knows his sister, she can hold it for 15 minutes, got me riled. Maybe usually, but not with 2 babies playing football with her bladder. You're the a-hole, OP. What an inexcusable, immoral action to take. To force a pregnant woman to embarrass herself and feel completely uncomfortable for no reason, after she already communicated the urge to drain the main vein. Then to have the freaking audacity to demand she pay to cover what you cost is a new type of cruelty yet to be discovered. I'm sorry for the language. I am furious right now, as a father of twins. You're the a-hole in every sense of the phrase, OP. I can't say it enough. You're the a-hole. You were asked multiple times to pull over so she could use the bathroom, and you refused. You don't know her body better than she does, and you clearly don't know how being pregnant, especially with twins, affects the body of a woman. I'd suggest you take this time to do some research, humble yourself, and apologize for humiliating your sister. Would it have killed you to pull over? Pregnancy can cause frequent, urgent restroom trips. Your sister has 2 almost ready babies pressing on her bladder. Sounds like she couldn't hold it. She's probably humiliated and upset. I doubt she wanted to peel over herself at your vehicle. Edit. I just called and apologized. I'm paying for it. I sent her the link to the post so she could enjoy my downfall. She's happier now. Update. My 35 male goddaughter, 15 female, recently lost both of her parents, and she began living with my wife, 32 female, and I. My wife is now saying this isn't what she signed up for, and is beginning to act cold and rude towards her, and it's making me rethink if I want children with her. Original story. I am 35 male. My goddaughter Elizabeth, 15 female, is the daughter of my late best friend and his wife, who both died in a car accident earlier this year. Elizabeth was also involved in the accident and miraculously survived. Elizabeth doesn't have any other family. Her mother and father were both only children, except for an extremely elderly grandmother who lives in a nursing home. My wife and I talked about it at length and decided to take Elizabeth in. My wife never lived with anyone other than her parents and significant others. We live in a large house, and Elizabeth has her own room and bathroom. But my wife has begun getting angry at Elizabeth for doing small things. For example, eating a Pop-Tart that was supposed to be hers. It wasn't the last in the box. My wife never said to anyone not to eat them, and my wife wasn't even the one who bought them. We went camping over the weekend and brought 2 tents, a larger one for Elizabeth and my wife and a smaller one for me. In the middle of the night, Elizabeth came over to my tent in tears. Apparently, she had had a bad dream and woken up loudly. Instead of asking her if she was alright or if she needed anything, she groaned loudly and said, "You were freaking kidding me. This is ridiculous now." I confronted my wife about it the next day, and she said that she was fed up with living with Elizabeth, and that this isn't what she signed up for. Elizabeth isn't a bad kid. She doesn't cause any trouble. She contributes to the house. She takes care of herself for the most part. She cooks dinner sometimes, she has a part-time job, and she cleans up after herself. She goes to her therapist 3 times a week with no complaints and is doing everything that is asked of her. I don't understand what she's doing that my wife is so fed up with. Elizabeth wasn't feeling well, so we cut the camping trip early. And when we returned home, my wife went out with her friends for the day. The next morning, I left for a business trip, and Elizabeth went to her cheer camp for 2 weeks. So I still need to speak to my wife about what happened and the general way she has been treating Elizabeth. Not just the outright things, the passive-aggressive things too. Like rolling her eyes or sighing when Elizabeth begins talking. But at this point, I'm not sure if I want kids with her anymore. We were trying, and then stopped because neither one of us wanted to have a baby in a pandemic. And then my best friend passed. I don't know if I'm wrong in judging how she would be as a mother to how she's treating Elizabeth. I just don't see how she can be so rude towards someone who has been through so much so recently. I don't know how to bring up that I don't want kids with her anymore, or just not bring it up until she starts talking about trying again. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Nah man, I'd be reconsidering the marriage, not just if you want kids with this lady. You and she talked about this. This girl is probably still getting over the trauma of losing both parents. And your wife goes, I didn't sign up for this, and starts treating her badly? You need to bring it up like now. And wifey needs to be set straight, that's just wrong. My son's friend was being mistreated by his mother and stepdad at home. He had a different dad than the other kids, a dad who was in prison for life, and the other kids were treated well. 3 days before his 18th birthday, in December, his parents threw him out. From then until high school graduation, he lived with us. The first thing he did was to go into the bathroom and cleaned every square centimeter of it. I asked him why he did that, and he said he really appreciated being allowed to stay with us. I told him, I don't expect you to clean unless I ask you to do it. I'd like you to help with chores, but no more than my son does. You can relax and enjoy yourself otherwise. He later told me that his mom and stepdad made him clean the house whenever he was home. As in, if they found anything wrong anywhere in the house at any time, he had to deal with it, including toilets overflowing and plumbing incidents, while the parents and his siblings played games and watched TV. He's a great kid. Joined the Marines out of high school, finished his time there, and is now a married father of 2 and a homeowner. He said living with us showed him a different way of life than he knew growing up, and he wanted to parent his kids as we parented ours. We just wanted to give the poor kid the freedom and support to be a kid while he was 1, and to give him a little TLC. He was emotionally defeated. And then the family moved away, and didn't tell him or provide a forwarding address or anything. He sobbed in my arms, certain he would never see them again. Now ask yourself, Opie, what kind of home do you want? One that treats your best friend's orphan child in need, with expressed contempt, as an unwelcome intrusion in your lifestyle, or one that treats your best friend's orphan child as a vulnerable young human who deserves a little loving compassion and kindness, and is happy to do so. I would also suggest you consider how she might respond to a situation in which you were the vulnerable one whose needs disrupt her lifestyle. What happens if you develop a serious illness? Did you know that sometimes when people get sick, their partners abandon them? Like, even if they are given a terminal diagnosis in their most dire time of need. And you know what they say? I didn't sign up for this. Just consider what kind of life you want, for you and Elizabeth, and if your wife is interested in being part of it. It sounds like that's a no, but you know her. What do you think? While your wife didn't sign up for this, human compassion dictates not berating a grieving child for eating a pastry innocently. She wouldn't be that rude to a stranger, so why is she acting this way? Your wife needs therapy, and you need to protect your goddaughter raise up. Feeling worthless and unwanted is usually damaging, especially after the recent loss of her parents. Please have the direct conversation right now, and have your wife move out if she needs space to consider this. Has your wife ever shown signs of acting this way with anyone? It would be usually surprising to wake up one day with a dismissive and angry spouse if this is unexpected behavior. But the wife and Opie did have a long conversation and she agreed to it. So she in fact did sign up for this. Opie says she never lived with anyone but parents and partners. Maybe she's just used to getting her way, not having to accommodate another person, let alone a teen, let alone a grieving teen. Maybe she and Opie didn't know that she doesn't have that kind of capacity for empathy. Great reminder, the wife signed up for this. It's fine for her to struggle, but she has made a commitment to this child. Your wife's behavior is disgusting. Self-centered, unsupportive, neglectful, which is horrible, and just downright unloving. 10 out of 10 would not want kids with her, and would start paying attention to possibly narcissistic tendencies. I know this is harsh, but wow, I'd be infuriated in your position. I am incredibly angry. It's been something that I've been keeping an eye on for a while. Like I've said, there are a lot of small things she does that I'm not sure if Elizabeth notices or not, but this weekend she was just out of line. And now for the update. Hello everyone. Thanks for all the comments, support, and advice on my previous post. I had a lot of people messaging me asking for an update once I spoke to my wife, which I did once I got home this morning. I began by bringing up that I've been getting concerned about her behavior towards Elizabeth. She flat out denied behaving any sort of way towards her. She says she treats Elizabeth fine, and that the incident that happened over the camping trip was blown way out of proportion by Elizabeth. I brought up how she often rolls her eyes or just walks out of the room, or goes on her phone in the middle of Elizabeth talking to us. She said that Elizabeth doesn't notice those things, and it's not like she's saying anything important anyway. I asked my wife what she meant when she said she hadn't signed up for this, and what she was fed up with. She said that she didn't realize all of the time and attention Elizabeth would take up. I asked her what she meant by that, since Elizabeth is largely self-sufficient, and having her live with us hasn't really affected either one of our personal or work schedules. We still go on date nights 2 nights a week. If I can't drive Elizabeth anywhere, she finds a friend's parent to do it. We still get personal alone time together at home. She wasn't giving me any actual answers, just getting defensive and saying teenagers are annoying. So I finally just flat out asked her what I could do to remedy the situation. And after a lot of beating around the bush, my wife finally said she didn't want to live with Elizabeth anymore. This floored me, and I asked her what her ideal situation would be. And she replied that we should ask around and see if any of her friends' parents want to take her until she turns 18. I don't know in what world she thought this would happen, but I told her absolutely not. After my wife and I mutually agreed to take Elizabeth in, I made her a promise that this would be her new home, that we could never replace her family, but we would do our best to make her feel safe and secure and happy, at a time where she was sure that she would never feel safe or secure or happy again. I am absolutely not going to uproot her from the place she's now begun to call home, to pawn her off to whoever would agree to take her. I have never seen my wife be cruel or heartless, but I suppose I've never really seen her be tested. I think she doesn't like that she can't control Elizabeth, whereas in the past, she's always lived with people she could control. My wife got incredibly angry over the fact that I wouldn't even entertain finding a new home for Elizabeth, as though she was some sort of misbehaving pet. She said I was choosing Elizabeth over her own comfort. I finally told her if she didn't want to live with Elizabeth anymore, that was fine. But since Elizabeth wasn't going to leave the house, she could. She stormed out. I assume she's going to stay with her parents. I don't know what's going to happen in the upcoming weeks and months in regards to our marriage, but I think we both need to reassess if our morals and values are still in line with each other's. Elizabeth doesn't come home until next week, so I'll figure out what I'm going to tell her before then. I don't want her to think this is her fault. Thanks again, everyone. I hope I included everything. If I forgot anything, I'll be happy to answer any remaining questions. Have a great night. I would suggest reaching out to a counselor before your goddaughter returns, to get some insight into how best to handle the communication with your goddaughter. I'm not sure there's much you can do about your wife. There's a word for people who have to have the world revolve around them. That's a great idea. Thank you. I think I will reach out to Elizabeth's therapist and ask her how to best approach the situation. The world needs more people like you, OP. Kudos on being an upstanding guy and role modeling to those around you. Better to see the parenting differences now rather than later. Elizabeth and future children are so lucky to have you. This is an extremely poor indicator of your wife's future parenting skills. Time and attention? Children require nothing but time and attention. If she can't manage the time and attention for a 15-year-old, how will she deal with a baby? I disagree with the people praising you to the skies though, OP, because you are simply doing what a decent parent, which is what you are now, a foster parent, does. That is, put the needs of their child over the preferences of other independent adults. You're a decent parent, OP. Keep it up. The right choices are usually the hardest ones to make. Good on you for doing the right thing by your goddaughter even if it means a potential end to your marriage. You are a good man and a good father. You did the right thing. It may hurt now, but it would have been worse later. I suppose I've never really seen her be tested. I think she doesn't like that she can't control Elizabeth, whereas in the past she's always lived with people she could control. Are you included in the list of people she controls? Are you okay? Have you ever considered how this relationship serves you? Definitely see to it that her controlling/egotistical nature does not affect Elizabeth. But next steps include considering unpacking that very horrifying description of your wife with a counselor/therapist and see how this affected your own well-being and self-worth. Yeah, that was alarming to read. I hope you're okay, OP, and I'm proud of you for standing your ground and doing what's best for Elizabeth. Just imagine if you had kids with your wife. How she would handle a screaming baby, a disobedient toddler, a snarky preteen, a rebellious teenager. Children are not things to be controlled. but humans to be encouraged to grow and become functioning, independent members of society. A controlling parent is just as bad as a friend parent who refuses to discipline their child. I wouldn't want to have children with a woman like your wife. It would be 18 years of hell for both you and the kid. Last story is titled, My 29 female, husband 29 male, got a tattoo of my face without telling me. I wish this was a joke. For context, we've been together almost 4 years and married for a little over a year. I'm currently out of the country visiting a close friend when he sent me a video of him and our cat where he suddenly kept showing me something on his thigh. I asked what it was, and we video chatted so he could reveal it. It was a tattoo of my face. He had asked me last week what my favorite picture of myself was, so I sent one to him. I asked why, but he just said he was curious. My birthday and our anniversary are coming up, so I thought it maybe had something to do with that. But no, it was for the tattoo. I hate it and couldn't hide it on my face. I kept asking if it was fake and if it was a prank. But no, he insisted it was real, and it definitely looked real. The art itself wasn't very good either. He could tell I didn't like it, and I was honest with him that I didn't like it. Don't usually like tattoos of people's faces. That I was in shock right now because this was so unexpected. I asked him why he didn't tell me about this. He said he wanted it to be a surprise. So I told him, how is this an acceptable surprise? He just said he loves me so much and wanted to put that love on his body. I told him that I felt like this was something we should have talked about since it's my face, and that there were other ways he could have represented his love, and that I just didn't understand how he went through with this without telling me. He was dumbfounded and crushed that I didn't like it, which made me feel awful because I could tell he was holding back tears. I think it hit a little extra hard since it's his first and only tattoo, and we've been talking about his different tattoos ideas since we first met. I ended a video chat by telling him I needed to process this, and let's rest and chat tomorrow. I'm really upset at this, and honestly find it embarrassing. I'm at a loss of what to do next. But I'm also upset I crushed him by not liking it, and I won't be home for another 2 weeks for us to have a conversation in person. He's always been a bit impulsive, but it's never been ridiculous like this. I literally cannot imagine looking at my face on his leg forever. Now for the top advice. Number 1 rule of tattoo: never get anything to do with your significant other. Bad luck, and it's kinda tacky if you ask me. Don't do it with your BFF either. It's almost certainly a sign of impending doom. Source: I have a BFF tattoo with someone I'm no longer friends with. I've gotten several tattoos that represented people in my life, but fortunately I had foresight to only choose designs that are significant to me as an individual as well. Some of the people who I got tattoos for aren't in my life anymore, but I still love the tattoos. To be fair, he never said he wanted it to be an acceptable surprise. I am the owner of a regrettable tattoo as well. A scantily clad pinup girl looks great on the shoulder blade of a 21-year-old U.S. Marine infantryman, but a bit out of place on a married 35-year-old father of 2 at a church pool party. I am in the middle of getting mine removed completely. It's a little painful, but it hurts the wallet more. I would suggest having a conversation about getting it lightened to a point that it could be covered up. Work with a tattoo artist to design a cover-up together that represents your relationship. It will need to heal completely before the laser treatments can start, and it will take multiple treatments. r/tattoo removal is a great resource for learning about the removal process. I like tattoos, but I've never seen one of a person's face that didn't remind me of Chucky or his bride. Unfortunately, his tattoo is there to stay, so I don't know how you fix this. There are literally 5,382 shows on TV right now called some variation of fixing tattoo disasters. Tattoos can be removed or covered up.